Good afternoon. We're going to start off today discussing how you could be successful in preparing for your child's IEP. We're going to start off with giving an overview so that we can empower you to be able to use the IEP to your advantage to get the services that your child needs. At a glance, um, the annual IEP meeting is the time to review and revise, update your child's IEP. Parents, the IEP should be covered during the meeting to make sure that that is covered. It's also important that the IEP meeting focuses on your child as an individual and not a statistic. Um, if your child has an IEP, you and the rest of his or her IEP team will meet at least once a year to sit down together and make sure that the IEP meets your child's needs effectively. Um, the IEP needs to be revised as your child makes progress throughout his or her educational career. Um, they faces new challenges as new instruction techniques and technology become more available. Um, if this is your first IEP, um, you and the rest of the team will develop your child's first IEP. After that, you will need to meet every year to update it, revise it, reflect his current strengths and his needs. Um, as a parent, you take an active role in all IEP meetings. At least one of your child's general education teachers, unless your child does not work with a general education teacher, and at least one special education teacher or other special education provider. A school district representative knowledgeable about general education and special education. This representative has the power to commit school resources for your child. Um, a school psychologist or other specialist who can effectively interpret your child's first or most recent evaluation and test results. Your child, starting with the IEP team, begins to develop the transition plan for life after high school. This plan will be part of the IEP that goes in effect when your child turns 18. Your child may be attending meetings even earlier if you think it's appropriate. Um, when your child turns 16, I'm sorry, not 18, but when your child turns 16. Um, Early participation can pretty much help build self-advocacy skills, which I do implore most parents uh, to encourage as they see the maturity of their child. All children mature faster or slower than others. So I do implore that a parent do encourage the child to participate early on, if possible, if they're mature enough to be able to handle that and have some input. A team member can be excused if both you and the school agree to it. Otherwise, the team should reschedule the meeting for a time where everybody could be present. Um, you could invite someone else also who understands your child's needs, such as a healthcare provider, to attend the IEP meeting. You could also ask a friend or, like someone like myself, an advocate. Um, it can be helpful to have an extra set of eyes and ears in the room. It lets the school know, you should let the school know, however, about any guests ahead of time. Anyone who cannot attend in person can participate by conference call. But the only thing is that you need to make sure that the IEP team leader in advance, if you and the guests will need phone or video connection. Um, many here. um, what is discussed and decided at the IEP meeting? Pretty much, the IEP developed during the meeting is considered a draft IEP. Some schools call this an advance and then share it at the IEP meeting. If your child's school creates the draft ahead of time, ask them to send it to you well before the meeting. Um, a good time frame will be 7 to 10 days before the meeting occurs. The draft is a work in progress. You have the right to suggest changes during the meeting. Every IEP should cover these key aspects: the present level of performance, or the PLOP. The team leader will write a statement about your child's current levels of academic and functional performance. That would include the social, the behavioral, the motor skills, for an example, and goals. This is based on data, partly on test scores, and observations from you and other team members. Um, Annual goals. The team reviews what progress your child has made towards his or her annual goals. Then together, you as a team should develop new or revised goals for the coming year. It's a very important, parents, for in annual goals to be very specific, measurable, and tailored to your individual child. It should not be something that they call for the norm for a child, their age or whatever. Every child is different. You can't give goals to a child based on standards or statistics. It should match the personality and the progress of that individual child. Um, Individualized supports and services. Your team should be able to discuss how well your child's accommodations and modifications and specialized instruction is working, and then you and the team update supports and services to match your child's um, present level of performance and annual goals accordingly. If it seems like the team is proposing a one-size-fits-all strategy, remind them, parents, please. I can't stress this enough. Remind them that the IEP should reflect only your child's individual strengths and needs. If you don't understand something or you need clarification, speak up. This is your best chance all year to communicate with the entire team. Wrapping up the IEP meeting and next steps. The team leader will note any changes to the IEP the team has agreed to during the meeting. This will become a draft version of the new IEP. If you're not ready to sign all or part of the new IEP, you have the right to take it home to think about it. You can also ask when the new IEP will go into effect and how long you have to make a decision. I ask you, parents, do not allow them to try to rush you into making a decision. You have a right to have at least 30 days after the IEP to make a decision as to how you want this to go be implemented. When the meeting is over or when you agree to the new IEP, don't simply file it and forget it. The IEP is set to guide your child's day-by-day education for the next year. So get ready to monitor how it plays out. Key takeaways. It is very crucial that the IEP team considers your questions, your insights, and your observations. If a team member cannot attend, they can join remotely or you can postpone the meeting. Again, parents, you can invite guests to support you or provide information about your child. I can't stress this enough. That's just an overview of what you can expect. Here's a checklist of what you should bring to the meeting. Notes, lists, and suggestions. How your child seems to be doing in school and how he or she feels about their classes. Your child's strengths and weaknesses, academically, socially, and physically. Um, your child's activities, notes on how he or she interacts with others outside of school, strategies that do or do not seem to be working at home, accommodations that you as a parent want to propose, and new and updated annual goals that you want to propose for your child's IEP, and what you want to learn at the IEP meeting, including questions about special education services that your child may be receiving. Documents and reports about your child, the current IEP, reports of progress towards the annual goals in the current IEP, recent class papers, tests, and report cards, results of your child's most recent evaluations, including with those that are conducted by professionals not employed by the school, such as a pediatric neurologist and other doctors, and a recent photo of your child if your child is not attending. The other items that you can consider, tape recorder if you'll be recording the meeting. Now, some of them are a little bit touchy about this because I know from my own children, I know that for a couple of them I did use a tape recorder to record it. I didn't too much care about them objecting because as a parent I have a right to have record of what's going on instead of trying to write down notes or trying to remember what was said. I want to be able to make sure that what we discussed in the meeting matches exactly what is on paper. Also, take a notepad and a pen to take notes along with the recording. Assistive technology tools or apps that you plan to demonstrate to demo. A short bio for any guest you introduce to the meeting. Also have an important folder to keep your important documents during the meeting to be sure that you request a copy of any documents you sign during the meeting. Do not leave out of that meeting after signing a document and do not have a copy of it. That's a definite no-no, parents. Because then if the problem arises and it gets altered, you don't have a copy, you have no proof, and it's your word against theirs. And trust me, it's a hot mess trying to reverse anything that they try to do. 5 important things to do before an IEP meeting. Number 1, you pull and review the records. Pull out your copies of official documents, including your child's current IEP, recent progress reports, report cards, collect samples of your child's homework, tests, notes from the teacher, gather your own notes and observations, and review what you have and look for topics and trends that need attention. Where is your child making progress or still struggling? What supports and services are or are not helpful? Are there any new challenges to report? Invite and prepare guests, advocates, and allies. If you think you need support at the meeting, invite someone to join you. I encourage that. This could be a friend or family member, a professional who works with your child, or an advocate like myself. Explain how you think they can help. If necessary, ask them to meet with them before the meeting to discuss your concerns. Get their input and plan your approach. If your child will attend the IEP meeting, make sure you make time to prepare your child. Prepare your questions and your recommendations. After you review your records and discuss the issues with your child, family, and invited guests, you may have a lot on your mind. It can help to draft a simple list of points you plan to make during the IEP meeting. Boil it down to the basics, your concerns, questions, and suggestions. You can refer to this list during the meeting. Create a folder with the list on top and all the backup documents inside. Tell the school about any special guests and requests. Let the IEP team leader know about any guests you plan to bring to the meeting. Provide their names and explain their relationship to you and your child. If you and your guests will need special arrangements such as video conferencing or a translator, let the team leader know in advance. Lastly, relax and reflect on your child. Once you have everything in order for the meeting, try to relax and focus on your child's strengths, interests, and challenges. Remember to listen to what your child says about school and learning. Please do not ignore that. Remember that you know and understand your child better than anyone else on the team does. That mindset will help you approach the IEP meeting with strength and much confidence. 5 misconceptions about IEPs. Federal law defines the individualized educational program but details can be very tricky. Myths and false assumptions about IEPs abound. Here are 5 most common misconceptions and facts about each. Myth number 1. Every child who struggles is guaranteed an IEP. Fact. To qualify for special education services and an IEP, a student must meet 2 criteria. First, he or she must formally be diagnosed with having a disability as defined under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. This federal law covers 13 categories of disability, one of which is specific learning disabilities. Secondly, the school must determine that a student needs special education services in order to make progress in school and learn the general education curriculum. Not all students with disabilities meet both criteria. Learn more about the process of getting the IEP. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. With our IEP roadmap. Myth number 2. If something is in the IEP, the school will make it happen. Fact. IEP is a legal contract, so the school is required to provide services and support it promises for your child, regardless. But teachers and administrators are busy and human, so sometimes details are overlooked or forgotten. Part of your role as a child's advocate is to make sure that he or she is getting the services and accommodations as they have been outlined within their IEP. It is your responsibility, parents, to monitor their schoolwork, test scores, and attitude towards school. If things seem to be off track, meet with their teacher to discuss the situation and start exploring other ways you can assess whether your child's IEP is being followed. Myth number 3. An IEP will provide services and supports for your child beyond high school. Fact. The IEP and the services it guarantees will end when the student graduates from high school. However, special education doesn't extend to college or the workplace. The IEP team is required to work with the student to create a transition plan as part of his IEP. This plan will focus on the student's future, goals, and help him prepare for adulthood. Now, as a parent who's had to go through this, I could pretty much clarify this for you. Even though it doesn't provide services, but when you go to secondary school, they do have an office that's called Student Services. Within Student Services in college, you bring a copy of the IEP in. They will actually honor the services that are in that IEP to accommodate your child in college. So don't let this fool you. This is true to some extent, but it's not completely true. I know this for a fact being that I've, experienced this, you bring a copy of the IEP into student services on any college campus. They will make accommodations for your child so that he or she can best succeed in their classes and get their degrees. So that's a FYI to all the parents. This is true, but not completely true. Um, and it's relatively easy. You make a meeting, an appointment to go see the coordinators and student services, and they will go from there with contacting the professors to make the accommodations, whether it's more time on their tests, more time to study, being able to do other things. I mean, various things, even down to needing certain wheelchairs and stuff like that. They will accommodate your students to be able to succeed in their academic career. Myth number 4. Having an IEP means your child will be placed in a special education classroom. Not always true. Fact, federal law requires that children with IEPs be placed in the least restrictive environments. Now, what this means is that students should spend as little time as possible outside the general education classroom. The IEP should specify services and accommodations your child needs to succeed in general education. If the students spend time in a resource room or special education class, that will be listed in the IEP. Parents, I encourage you to let your child get services while they stay in a regular environment. And the reason being because then they don't have to worry about the stigma that usually is attached with being put in a special education class where they're isolated from everybody else except for other kids who have disabilities. Your child shouldn't be trapped in a situation like that. And sometimes it could be beneficial, but a lot of times it could be not so beneficial. And I implore you parents to consider letting your child be in a regular classroom and just have their services in place. That way, very little of their business can be out. Your child will thrive a little bit more and whatnot. Myth number 5. The IEP is written by the school, then explained to the parents. Excuse me. Fact. According to federal law, IDEA, the parents are full and equal members of their child's IEP team. That means that you have a say in how your child's IEP is practiced. Even if you're not an expert on special education, you are an expert when it comes to understanding your child's needs. Your intimate knowledge of your child's development, strengths, challenges, home life, activities outside of school are extremely valuable for developing the IEP. Five important things that you should do during the IEP meetings. Being a member of the IEP team requires confidence, collaboration, and a commitment to your child. Here are 5 more ways for you to advocate for your child during an IEP meeting. Parents, make sure that they personalize the IEP for your child as an individual. No one on the IEP team knows your child better than you do. The other team members may be experts about education, but you're an expert about your own child. Share your perspective on your child's personality, interests, struggles, success. Cast a wide net. Describe how he or she behaves when doing homework, playing on sports teams, and doing other activities outside of school. This will give the school insights into your child's abilities and instruments. It also reminds the team to tailor their IEP to them as an individual. Keeping an open mind. Everyone on the IEP team brings something to the table. You bring key insights and information about your child. Other team members offer experience and understanding of your child's needs and strengths at school. If someone brings up an issue and solution you're not sure of, please hear them out. Sometimes issues may come up in school that don't appear at home. After all, school is a different environment with different rules and expectations. By working together, you can more successfully discuss and address your child's needs. Parents, ask questions and seek clarification always. Special education laws and programs are very complex. Even if you're well prepared, you may hear new terms and references during IEP meetings. When this happens, ask for the explanation. When you have a right to understand every detail and decision. You may want to ask in advance for notes to be taken during the meeting, and then ask for a copy of the notes at the end of the meeting. Focus on the outcome, not just the process. Be aware of the goals that you have for your child and make sure that the team understands your expectations. You can work together to create a plan for your child's active achieving those goals. Together, the team can figure out the best resources and effective instructional approaches. Be sure, however, to ask questions about what the team proposes and even suggest changes. Advocate for your child's rights and for your own rights, parents. Don't allow others to gloss over your IEP details that involve your rights. For instance, if you're told that the district won't cover certain services, ask to see the section of the Individuals Disabilities Education Act that supports that. If you're unsure about the IEP drafted in the meeting, don't feel pressure into signing it. Signing the attendance page does not mean you agree with the IEP. It simply means you attended. Exercise your right to take the IEP draft home and think it over. Be polite but firm. Ideally, the other team members will respect you for standing your ground. Right now, we're going to take a little small break. We will be back where we're going to pick up where we left off, where we're going to start with 6 tips to make sure that your child's IEP is implemented properly. We will pick this back up in about 10 minutes.